All right, so I have to. Okay, so I recorded this once, and now I'm gonna do it again. I didn't have my microphone on. I quickly, maybe 15 minutes, we're gonna spend talking about this lighting setup for this variety interview between Robert Downey and Jodie Foster. And the reason I wanted to do that was because I think a lot of people, want to get into some kind of filmmaking and stuff like this tends to be one of the earlier ways that you can get into it. These kind of, I call this like a corporate interview, but it's a corporate style interview, whatever you want to call it, even though we're dealing with, a tier stars, whatever. But I think lighting for something like this can seem daunting to the cinematographer. So I wanted to run through this and show you that it is actually not that bad. So I just took some screenshots. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to address the elephant in the room, the cameras. 1, 2, 3, and obviously the one we're watching from, but I don't know what that one is because obviously we can't see it. These 3 cameras. Can't tell what that is, but I know this one, and likely this one, all match. One thing that will happen when you're on a gig like this is there's no shot that, these 2 would be Canon and this one would be Sony. They're just going to rent another Canon. So in this case, we have a C500 or C300. So this C500 Mark II or C300 Mark III, can't tell, same body, same thing with these 2. I can tell this one is one of those. Again, I can't quite see that, but with the Canon lens on there, I'm going to assume all 3 are Canon, and that doesn't really matter. Lens-wise, this makes me think that this is a Sigma 18-35. That looks very familiar. Could be a like 24-70 Sigma, but it's certainly a Sigma lens. If it is an 18-35, then that makes this a C300 Mark III. Over here, we can see we've got a 24-70 or a 70-200. One of them, I think that's a 70-200. I don't actually have any Canon lenses. This DP is having a lot of fun. I love that. It's always good to have fun. And then this dude has... So, oh, no, it's 100%. That might be another 70-200. You know what? So that's what I think is going on. I think it's 2 70-200s, and then that might be an 18-35. But in any case, that doesn't matter. That's just what the lenses are. Camera is kind of irrelevant, except for when you're in a situation like, let's say you're this gal over here, and let's say this is the main DP, or maybe the director is calling you, and they go, hey, what camera do you have? We need a third. And you're like, oh, I have a C500 Mark II. They go, fantastic, we're shooting Canon, get over here. Sometimes that happens. Other than that, no one really cares what camera you use. Like no one's calling you and going, oh, thank God you have a C500. Let's find 2 other ones. Usually you're fitting in a puzzle. Other than that, no one really. The years of like, oh, you've got a red are over. If you hear me pausing to drink, it's because I have a little beer. We're doing a little beer in a work through. So let's talk about the lighting. We have. I'm going to simplify this, but then we'll go a little deeper. We have 2 lights. We have 2 lights. We have a key. And we have a fill. That's it. That's all you got to think about. If you're setting up a situation like this, all you have to think about is key and fill in this situation. Let's go deeper to educate, but really that's kind of all that's happening here. Okay. So first things first, key light. We've got matching key lights, right? You've got 2 sky panels. You can tell that they are sky panels because of this blue rim here, right? That's the classic RE rim. And they have the chimeras on, which is a classic. I mean, if you rent a sky panel, these are S60s. You can tell by the width. S30s are square, more or less. And S60s are, everywhere. So, chimeras, if you rent an S60, you're probably getting a chimera. There's the logo for chimera right there. And they've got the grid in, so we're not spilling all over the place. So you see this little egg crate? That is letting the soft light go through towards Jodie Foster, but it is also not going that way, right? It's not hitting the back wall. So actually, what's funny is, technically, kinda, this is the key, and this is a little bit of rap, because what we do, as I'm sure you've heard from a million YouTubers, is you want the far side key, right? So the cameras are on this side. Cameras are here, right? So that means light needs to be here, right? And this is the line that these two chuckle fucks live on. No, I'm kidding. I love them both, though. I love them both as actors. So you've got kind of your key, kind of your fill. If I had to guess, this one would be more powerful than this one. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That's something you're going to have to do to taste as a DP. But you'll notice they have these cutters underneath them, which are made out of, I believe, looks like just kind of regular foam. And what's that's doing is, because this light is lighting Robert Downey, and this light is lighting Jodie Foster, you don't want this one, or you don't want this light lighting her, right? So you put the cutter there so it stops from giving her any top light. Maybe you want her to have some top light. Maybe. But in this case, they did not. And that's fine. One brief thing I'm going to say is, I don't quite know what this is doing. If I had to guess, if it were me, that is just giving some ambient sort of backlight bounce to this whole scene. I'm sure the DP looked at it and went, you know what, it's still a little dark over here. Let's just bounce it. But this one, and I think those are the only two that seem to be on, are hitting this little bookshelf. And then on both sides of the room, you've got the Vortex 8, one of my favorite lights of all time, or the Vortex 4. Vortexes in general, the Cream Source Vortex series is far better than the Sky panel, in my opinion. But they are just banging into some card, just some white card you can get anywhere. The art supply store, just a sheet, whatever you want. This is nothing important. This doesn't have a name. This is literally just a thingy, a white thingy, and that is kind of, again, cross. So this is giving some fill to the room over here, and this mirrored version is giving some fill over here. And you'll notice we have another cutter, and that is to save our poor DP from getting an eye full of Vortex, which I'm sure they are thrilled with, because no one wants that. We've also got this big cutter, this 4x floppy here. There's another one over here. Might be a 6x. I don't know. I can't tell dimensions right now. But these two floppies are keeping this bounce light from hitting the back wall, right? Because that would give away what was going on, and that's not what we're trying to do. You want the light to look effortless. You don't want it to be obvious. Now, there's one more light in this scene. Well, there's this one. If I had to guess, see it here? It's just hitting that. If I had to guess, based on the fact that this angle exists that we are currently looking at, our angle, this might just be to light the room. This might just be a full-on room light, or maybe they just decided they needed more fill on this side. I don't know. There's a few reasons why you might need more fill, pardon me, on this side, but you know, there's no apparent off the bat reason why that light is there when you have this fill. Like, this fill should be enough to get Jodie. And kind of the back of, this is probably also working sort of as a hair light for Robert, and same thing over here. But maybe they needed more fill. Maybe it was just for this room. Maybe they literally just needed it so they could see. Who knows? But there's one more light in the scene, and that is down here. And this is giving Jodie Foster a little bit of underlight. Now, how do I know it's going for Jodie? Well, you've got, see this little, oop, I got rid of, give me my layer back. We've got this cutter here that stops it from hitting Robert. Whoa! Never done that in Photoshop. So this is blocking the light from hitting Robert. This is probably like a light mat, or maybe like one of those aperture Amaran. You know, it could be anything. Whatever. It's a flat LED light, and what that is doing is just giving Jodie Foster a little bit of fill under the chin, to give her a little more traditional glamour light that Hollywood actresses are used to. It is not a weird sexist thing. When I started as a DP, I certainly felt weird lighting women differently because I thought this feels rude. Like they don't need corrective lighting. They're beautiful the way they are. Yeah, that's true. But when we photograph, especially women of a certain vintage, you know, they expect a certain type of lighting. You want to take care of your friends, and some of your friends prefer to be lit in a more kind of old school Hollywood way. Now, I'm not saying Jodie Foster asked for that. What I'm saying is what's more likely is that an experienced DP had that thing ready to rock and did it instinctually, because that is what you will get. Now, if you're going to do this, if you're going to employ the sort of bottom fill light, you want to make sure that it doesn't read super heavy, right? It should be invisible. So let's we'll start with Jodie's angle. See this shadow under her chin right here, right? Without that fill light, I bet that looks a little darker. And that's not what we want. We want her to look, I mean, she always looks fantastic. Obviously, she's one of the best actors in the world. But in this photograph, in this image that we're making, in this video, we want her to look, you know, kind of like a painting, almost like a portrait. That's what Variety does. You know, this is all, there's a reason why Annie Leibovitz has worked there for so goddamn long, is they have a style, you know. And I think it's informed a lot of other companies' styles. Now, granted, I believe it's all like Condé Nast, so, you know, your GQ and your Esquire, you know, they all kind of follow suit. But again, if you want to get into this industry and you want to do this kind of thing, this is what will be asked of you at some point. So this is kind of what you're looking for. So that little floor light, again, you can't see it, right? Like if I just showed you this, you'd be like, well, there's clearly a light here and maybe a little bounce here, and that's the light. No, but now that you've seen the backdrop, you know. And if we go to Robert, right, his shadow down here is a little darker, just a little darker. Oh, what's that? How do I erase? Oh, I painted that on the, whatever, doesn't matter. A little darker, right? So if I go Jodie, right? See how there's just a little more light? It's so gentle. But and here's the thing. All right, this is wild, but it could also just be a confidence light. As I look at these, they're pretty close, but I just thought of this just now. I was put in a position once where I employed a similar light, and was told, the director had me bring it down because it didn't look right. And basically, it was to give the actress confidence that she was looking her best. We knew she was looking her best, but she wanted to feel that she was looking her best. And I'm not saying this is a thing about women, obviously. I'm just saying this is something that you may run into. And my evidence is the fact that it is employed right here. I'm literally not trying to be weird about it. I was so weird about it when I was asked to do it. So I'm trying to save you the embarrassment of going like, nah, all women are beautiful. It's like, yeah, we all know. We all know all women are beautiful. Kings, queens, and in-betweens, we love them all. But some folks want a little confidence, or you need to employ the confidence, whether or not that is warranted or not. But you can kind of see on Jodie's angle a little bit of lift under her chin versus Robert. And also, I could be talking out my ass. He might have one right behind here. There might be another. Oh, I've driven on it again. There might be another one right here hitting him. We just can't see it. This could be an absolute, 50-50 mirror, giving him a little lift under there. It's just weird to talk about. It's weird to talk about having to do like. It feels less weird when you're in the color grade for some reason, but when you have to employ it as a DP, it's like, oh, be quiet about it. Hush, hush, hush. Because they do look kind of the same. I said it out loud. I was talking so confidently, but they do look quite. The lighting setups look very similar. But either way, I've experienced it lighting certain folks. But either way, just have one. If you're dealing with especially people who have been around for a while, more experienced actors, have these kind of under fill lights ready to roll. They don't have, if you're just dealing with glamour models, for instance, that's a little bit easier to justify in your head. Whatever. I feel like I spent way too much time explaining the importance of that. But that is something that, unfortunately, a lot of us don't think about. So, to recap, the lights that we are employing to get the variety look are a key light and a fill. Probably not the same power, potentially. I would say that this one here is, let's say, 1, and this is maybe 0.5, right? 1 and 0.5. Not saying like 100% or 50%. I'm just making up a number, just for purposes. And then these fills, maybe 0.25. Wow, do better. Realistically, these fills are probably at 100% because they're bouncing. I can't see the little thing there, but yeah. And then that's all you really need. And maybe your little under chin thing. And then your fill light for the room, your ambient, your sort of room tone. I don't think it's this. I don't think it's this. I can't tell you what those are. If you need, after you've set up these, let's call it 2 lights, but in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, potentially 8 lights. 9, 10 lights. If you need more, one thing that you kind of tend to do in a situation, if the whole room just needs more, is you'll just get a big fucking piece of diffusion like that, and you'll put a bunch of light behind it, and that will just come down and fill the whole room with light, and it would just literally span from like here all the way, it would be this whole, well, actually, to be more realistic, it'd be like here, and then that would fill in, and then there would be, again, imagine 3D, this is going from this back wall forward towards where we're looking. I'm drawing with a mouse, but that's your setup. And then with that setup, you get a beautiful shot of Robert Downey Jr. You can see the eye light here. Those are those two sky panels. And then these two lights, probably this one is the fill. Actually, you know what? Now that we're looking at it, I think Robert does have a floor light. I think that's that. So they both have floor lights. There you go. I spent all that time talking about old Hollywood actresses, and Robert Downey's an old Hollywood actress. So point stands. But and then on her, you can see the sky panels, the fill light, and the floor light there. There's no reason for you to really focus on the idea of an eye light in something like this, because usually the key is the eye light. And you'll notice on neither of our talent do we have a strong hair light. They are just separated nicely from the background because the background is at, I don't know, two stops under. And your key light here is on Robert, let's say at key, whatever, 2.8. I'm making that up. And then down here in the shadows, this is probably, I don't know, 1.4. It is not a heavy contrast ratio. Same thing with Jodie. Even less. Jodie's got a much more kind of, right here, you've got a little bit of shadow, and certainly under her neck, like we said. But, yeah, she's at key, and then over here is, a 2, as opposed to a 2.8. So, that is how you light a variety thingy, or at least how you analyze it. Once again, I did not work on this. I'm just analyzing it for you in real time, so maybe you can get a better idea on how you should analyze things. Also, this this right here, this black, normally when I see that on the floor, that is to kill bounce. In this case, I'm not seeing any bounce. That duvetine could be just a walkway. Because when you work on a white cyc like this, a lot of times you got to wear booties. Yeah, there you go. Yep, see, the director, whoever this is, has booties on, right? So, there's, this could be, aha, yes, okay, there we go. Again, we're doing analysis. Our friend here who is, I don't know what they're doing, but they do not have booties on, and they probably walked down this thing, down the duvetine. What do they have in their hand? Is that like a what do you call it? Bluetooth speaker, something like that. Maybe there's someone watching in a different area who's making comments, potentially. We do have an SDI out we can see. So this is an HDMI cable. This is the power cable that is also HDMI, but HDMI power. Or sorry, XLR. XLR audio, XLR power. That is on the C300, C500. This is the SDI. That could very well be going to, well, it's going to a director's monitor, I can tell you that. But maybe the director's somewhere else, and this person's got a Bluetooth speaker, so the director watching the monitor in a different state or whatever, different city, can talk to them. Maybe, who knows? Robert's talking to this DP here. So it could be that there is no direct. I would assume this is the director, but this might be director, assistant, director, 3 DPs, and the producer is off screen. Who knows? That's something I absolutely cannot analyze, but that's the kind of scene you would see on this type of set. So I hope that was valuable. I certainly spoke more for 15 minutes, only took you another 10. Mostly with rambling, but I hope that's fine, and I hope that was informative and helpful, and I hope you have a fantastic filmmaking journey going forward. Goodbye. Make sure to listen to the Frame and Reference podcast to hear from hundreds of the best cinematographers on the planet. There's my little pitch at the end. Okay, bye-bye.